What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is the Uzi Gunner, and I'm here to bring to each and every single one of you the very latest installment of Pokemon Reviews. Today's edition will be focusing on a ROM hack that took the whole community by storm with its first release and was thought to be dead for over 3 years, only to make its triumphant return in 2018 and finally have its main story finished, Pokemon Gaia. So with that being said, enough of me rambling on, let's get this show on the road. Pokemon Gaia is a ROM hack of Fire Red that has made its first appearance in the scene in 2014. It has a select number of Pokemon spanning from Kanto to Kalos, all of which have their original cries. The whole battle system has been modernized in every sense, as it does have all the new moves that have never been introduced from Generation 4 to Generation 6 that do have their own sorts of animations, including some of which were never seen before, as well as the newer abilities, save a few like Mold Breaker, and finally the fairy typing itself. What truly makes this particular ROM hack stand out, however, would have to be the fact that this is the first Pokemon ROM hack where you can actually Mega Evolve your Pokemon the proper way, instead of having to add an extra evolution and setting the default Porygon cry. Other than that, underwater areas that were exclusive to Hoenn do make an appearance here, along with bits from Generation 4 to Generation 6, such as the Battle Marsh, which is the equivalent to a Battle Mason, scaling up mountains with rock climb, and hidden grottos itself, which coincide with secret temples, which usually lead to a special Pokemon or special items. Lastly, whilst this game mostly does consist of Fire Red and Hoenn music itself, there are 2 to 3 custom music pieces here and there which were pretty well done. Now with the features out of the way, let's move on to the story. The story itself is what you'd expect of a traditional Pokemon game to be. It follows the lifestyle of a trainer who starts off in his region with the goal of earning all badges, in hopes of becoming the champion in his region known as Orbis. That's how you properly pronounce it. It has somewhat of a rich history in the sense that it was once populated by a prosperous civilization that created several monuments to their gods and guardians. It all came to a sudden halt due to a series of massive earthquakes, which resulted into all of their work being relegated to just temples, idols, and stories, as relics of the past. The region may have seen peace after, but all of that changed in the current time, when the professor of this region, Redwood, noticed an increase in the region's seismic activities. And whilst it may not be as extreme as it was during the ancient times, it still caused a lot of concern among the many citizens. Since you're the protagonist, you have the task of assisting the professor with your rival to find out exactly what is the root cause of it. Before you start, however, you receive a mail from an anonymous person who seeks an ancient book that you have for some reason. Little do you know, however, that giving it to that said person would be the beginning of what's to come. The main antagonists are known as the New Elders, who most certainly have a pretty interesting goal in the sense that they want to bring the region back to its ancient times. They consider modernism and everything else that's associated with it as a plague to society itself and seeks to destroy it, all for the sake of bringing back what in their eyes is the golden times. Whilst the Grunts do have Team Magma or Aqua's team, that is not the case for the higher-ups, known as the Elder Knights, who have the goal of capturing the Regi Trio and eventually reawakening Regigigas for the sake of having it be the driving force towards truly achieving their idealistic goals. And on that note, let me just go on the record to say that they have a custom theme and it honestly sounds amazing. The fact that it's connected to the Regi's Trio music, but also has its fair share of distinctions to help it resonate with their goals, was something I honestly very much admired. It made my encounters with them have much more weight in general, and was something that made me look forward to fighting them. The rival in this game intrigued me quite a bit too, because while he does very much fit the mold of a generic goody two-shoes, he does show bits of acting like a real human being at times, showing signs of genuine frustration due to you always being the one that wins against him in each battle. Finally, if there's anything else that I find the most impressive about the game, it'd have to be the sprite work. I have played lots of ROM hacks over the last 7 years, and among all of them, I haven't found the level of high quality work in that regard until this game came into my life. It did a great job at establishing the new characters as their own people rather than something that I'll just forget in a month or two. I genuinely hope future ROM hacks and fan games in general follow the direction that Gaia did based on this matter. Unfortunately though, with good comes bad, and as much as I hate to say it, I do have my fair share of gripes with the game itself. What are they, you may ask? Well, here we go. For starters, I feel like the story itself, while having a glorious concept and immense potential behind it, couldn't be told in the best way possible. Whilst the goals behind the new Elders did have potential to make you start questioning things about matters which are usually overlooked, it was never really emphasized on, as whilst them and the Elder Knights would bring up their intentions through each encounter, none of them really said anything in particular to truly put me in that state of thinking. Now, I'm not saying they failed their role as antagonists, because they most certainly did. They were sold pretty well in that department, because regardless of you beating them with each encounter, you'd find out that you're always too late. But even after all of that, I never really could take them that seriously. In a sense, I found my whole arc with them, well, rather underwhelming. Some bits were also questionably written and did have certain loopholes, which is honestly a shame too, because upon encountering them and hearing about their true motives, I was genuinely excited. I should clarify though that I'm not saying it's horrible by any means, because it's far from that. But in my opinion, it's not great either, which is honestly a shame. Another issue that I particularly have with the game itself would have to be its presentation towards certain events. Now, I'm not going to hold the fact that the game comprises of mostly reused music from Fire Red Leaf Green, as well as some bits of Ruby and Sapphire against it, because contrary to Pokemon fan games, it's much harder to create, let alone implement or script music into the game itself. With that being said, it definitely did somewhat hinder some pivotal scenarios, because after you're done taking on and failing to stop the new Elder schemes as they progress with their plans, and you are in a serious discussion with your companions to plan your next schemes, the happy and upbeat music that's playing in the background really took away a lot of that tense air during those set situations. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say that this was as consistent as with Pokemon Insurgents, but it did affect the overall enjoyability. One of my biggest grievances about the game itself would have to be the rival himself. First things first, he does not have his own music, but the recycled Fire Red Leaf Green Trainer Battle one, which was somewhat of a bummer. Not only that, but while he does showcase a great portion of realism with each passing battle, getting all upset and sad over you constantly besting him with each passing encounter, showing signs of not appreciating, or rather showing active disappointment to him always having to play second fiddle in each scenario with you getting to do the more important or quote-unquote heroic work, potentially setting the stones towards him choosing to just snap or go off. The sad thing is, that never happens. He keeps saying friendly and nice to you throughout the whole game, just flat out accepts his place and role, which really left me disappointed! One final complaint I have would have to be the finale in the new Elders arc. See, you find out very late in the game that the true mastermind behind all of this is the woman who you give the book to in the very beginning of the game, known as Morgana. It was a nice surprise moment for sure, but unfortunately, just like with almost every single member of the organization she runs, she essentially says the same thing. Despite all of that, she eventually, with the help of the forbidden move that nobody other than the league's champion knows, manages to break through the final seal and finally reach the place where Regigigas resides. She had won. This is where things get more questionably written, as your only other option would have to be collecting 3 idol pieces located behind the ancient symbols you encounter that are guarded by each respective Elder Knight. Now that's honestly fine and all, but what truly irked me about all of this would have to be the fact that as you're in pursuit of all of these artifacts, shouldn't that be enough time for Morgana to reawaken Regigigas and wreak havoc upon the Orbis region? Nope. Instead, she just stands there until you gather all of them and finally reach the place for you to fight her and put her tirade to an end. Now whilst the final battles were definitely cool and all, I, just like many points in the game, found it to be worth calling wasted potential, because honestly, it could have been handled so much better. Regardless of these flaws, by no means does this mean that I did not enjoy playing through this ROM hack, because I most certainly did. The new features in particular made playing through this game a genuinely enjoyable experience. Every time I'd take the effort to explore the areas more, I'd be rewarded with finding hidden grottos as well as hidden temples, which would reward me for my effort with special Pokemon and rare items alike. Being able to see actual Mega Evolutions happening before my very eyes in a Pokemon Fire Red game, with the actual noise and other perks that come along with it, was honestly something that put a massive smile on my face. It, just like Pokemon Prism, showed me just how much ROM hacking has advanced in the Pokemon community, and how many things that were once thought of to be as impossible have in fact become a reality. It also has shown that it will continue to evolve for many years to come, and Pokemon Gaia is definitely one of the advocates for that. The game itself ends after the main story is over, with the post-game being reportedly in development, which will be released in another 4 years. Jokes aside, I personally talked to the creator himself, and he said that he does intend on hopefully releasing it sometime in 2019, and plans on presenting its story on the same level he did with the main game itself. For that and that alone, I will not give a score for the game itself yet, as it is technically an unfinished product that's still in development. But would I still recommend it to you all? For sure. So yeah, that's gonna be all there is to it for this video. I hope you all managed to find genuine enjoyment out of it, and if you did, feel free to drop a like on this video as well as subscribe if you want to see more of yours truly. I'm sorry to you guys for making you all wait an entire week for this, but trust me when I tell you that I got much more plans ahead to try and improve my consistency for the upcoming year. Either way, my name is Gunner. Thank you very much for watching. Have yourselves a good day, but above all else, I'll see you all on the flip side. Peace!